It is 93.3 WMMR in Philadelphia. I'm Pierre Robert, and we welcome you to our latest MMRchive session. We're also very pleased to debut our brand new performance space here at the station. We have a live audience and an amazing group of musicians to help us break this room in properly. As you probably know, they hail from the fine village of New Orleans. They began their musical journey together back in 2007. Now, the story's been told many times before of how Zach Feinberg met David Shaw. Zach was riding his bicycle home. He took an alternate route. He heard a guy playing guitar on his porch. He stopped to listen for a while. He went to talk to that guy. That guy was David. And that was the very beginning. Then, with the addition of other extraordinary musicians, Ed, Rob, George, Andrew, Michael, and PJ, they are now a band, and they were off and running. In 2008, they released their first self-titled independent record. In 2010 came Vital Signs. That was followed in 2012 with City of Sound. Then it was the real breakthrough that came on a much larger level in 2015 when Men Amongst Mountains and the single Wish I Knew You arrived. Next in 2018 was Take Good Care, featuring a wonderful song among many, but the song All My Friends was featured on that record. There were also a few visits to legendary Muscle Shoals Studios for recordings that were released in 2020 and then again last summer in 2022. They'll be at the MMR Music Center on July 12th with The Head and the Heart. But now, in 2023, they are back with a brand new record, Pour It Out Into the Night. It is out. It's in the record stores today. And it's a great pleasure to welcome back to Philadelphia and to WMMR, the Revivalists.
It's good to be here, y'all.
Cool. So we'll start with some questions, and then we'll go from there. The first thing I wanted to know is the time that became known as COVID. And I think you just finished up the Muscle Shoals stuff in 2019, and it's going to be released, or was released in January of 2020. And then there was a tour schedule for February of that year, and then COVID came along. And that put the brakes on everything. But I'm wondering what the vibe was. And Ed, I heard you talking about it, and you said your first reaction was fear.
Yeah, well, you kind of devote your life to this, and I don't know if it was fear. It was kind of like fear of the unknown, like what's going to happen. Like there's definitely something that is about to change, at least for a little while. And really our livelihood is getting in front of people like we have here. This is what we really love to do, is kind of, play and see the reaction on your faces. And, if that was going to be taken away, I was not going to be a fan. But so that was my first thing. But then, you start to think about how much you appreciated just getting to do it at all, So fear kind of turned into hope for, to kind of get back what you had. And we did, which is great. We're starting to tour again. This is the first big one for a while, so we're pretty pumped up and pretty hopeful for it. So,
but speaking of touring, I think David, you said you took the gigs for granted, and all of a sudden there's space where there was no space. From a band that's working all the time to all of a sudden the brakes are entirely on from full, power to stop.
Yeah, I think it's something. It's just like, I think in 2020. It was when it happened. I think probably one of the reasons why I said that or mentioned that, it was like I think I desperately needed to get off the road, and then that kind of boom happened. But then that space and that time away gave us all, I think, just such a revitalized appreciation for the things that we do and the music that we make, and the people that love what we do. And it was just like. It was a terrible time for so many reasons, but it did, there were some silver linings that I think, you have to be able to find them, in any dark situation. You've got to find those.
Was that true for you, Zach, as well?
100%. Yeah. I definitely felt like once we started getting in rooms together again and playing for audiences, it just felt so special. Like, this is a precious thing that we get to do this, and we're so grateful that we get to live our dreams and play music for people, and it's more or less well received. It's amazing. It's an incredible thing, truly. At the same time, it was really nice in a lot of ways to have the longest amount of time stationary at home that we've ever had in our adult lives, like several months. That was really great. There were a lot of young baby raising that was happening for a lot of families here.
A lot of changes.
They really got to, be there for that. So I was able to be home for the entirety of my fiance's twin pregnancy. So that I'm grateful for that as well. So we're happy of all of it, looking on the bright side, and we're super grateful that we get to do this.
You can't keep the music down. And one of the things that happened during this time, some cities did drive-in shows, and we did a couple of those that first summer.
We did one too in New Orleans.
I read about that because we had the Struts, and we've been friends with them for a long time. And Luke Spiller, their front man, is a very energetic and engaging guy. And he jumps into the audience, as you often will, and he'll get the left side where he gets the right side, and everybody jumping up and down. And we had a parking lot in the sports complex and big screens, and you had to sit in your car and tune into a frequency, maybe stand outside your car. And for a band or for an audience, that's a whole different dynamic. And I said to Luke, you're not going to be able to do the jump up. And he goes, oh, well, maybe I'll have them flash their lights or honk their horns.
We actually did that too during a celebration. We figure out what most of the horns honked in, like the note.
Come on.
And I think B flat. And I think we changed, we went into that note and we were like, now honk your horn. I forget exactly how it happened.
The song has a natural key that we already do a key change from A to B flat.
Oh, that's
so
what
we're
it
like, we
was.
got to do it after we do the key change.
Yeah,
we realized.
yeah.
Otherwise, it would be very dissonant. We didn't want that.
Yeah, you don't
we
want
wanted
that.
to be. We wanted the honking
Harmonious.
to be we wanted it to be in key.
Harmonious.
Yeah,
honk.
when you get 125 car horns honking at once, you want it to sound
beautiful.
nice.
Are you going to say something?
Sounds like a choir.
Yeah, it's cool. But you can't keep the music down.
Nope.
Now, the final thing about the pandemic I want to ask you is every city was affected differently, but New Orleans is so vibrant and alive. I cannot picture that city still. What was
I'll
it
tell
like?
you, the craziest part about it is you're right. A lot of the city is you're out on the street, you're with a lot of people, you're eating, you're drinking, you're doing all these things, and a lot of places had to adapt, just like everybody in that situation. They started putting chairs outside. They started doing delivery, doing all these things. New Orleans still had that soul to it, but a lot of that vibrancy is missing.
Yeah, it was rough on New Orleans because
it's not there.
It's a tourism economy and stuff. The city took a hit from
COVID. And it was also
yeah.
the epicenter, at the beginning. It was one of the major places that got hit because we had just had Mardi Gras. So it was just
oh, right.
Everything
shut
came to
down
the
right
city
about
and
March.
Exactly. So it was just it really hit the city hard. I would take bike rides and runs, and I would run through the French Quarter. It was a ghost town. Wow.
And so many restaurants that you love that just didn't make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just couldn't. Yeah. The turnover in the restaurant business down there, which is a huge part of New Orleans, has been crazy.
Is it back now, would you say?
We're starting to come back now, and a lot of the staples that I love are still there. But just like everywhere else in the whole world, everybody's trying to build back the thing that they had. So hopefully we'll get there. The city's definitely growing in that aspect.
It's 93.3 WMMR. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with the Revivalists, and we have a brand new record out. It's Pour It Out Into the Night, and it's so cool to have a new record. At the top of your Twitter page, I like how it's phrased in order. New song under that, new album under that, new era. And it's a great new record, and I love it. The first song we've been playing is Kid. There's also an acoustic version of it, but tell us about Kid.
Well,
anybody?
Yeah, I got you. I can start it out for sure. It was the first tune that me and Zach it was the first time we got together to write. I think back from the pandemic when we were kind of all separated. It's a really special song for us, and just speaking to a little bit to what it's about, because honestly, I think a lot of times we don't really know where these things come from. A lot of times, but I will say that I think the heart of the song revolves around, there's a lyric in the song, living for the Spirit now, and that is really that's the heart of the song. There's so many things that can grab your attention. We have a supercomputer in our pocket. There's a lot of negativity. There's also a lot of positivity, but, so I think it's really about not letting these things steal your joy, seeing the good things, seeing the hope, and living in the moment.
It's so important. Present time. There's so many great songs on here. We don't have time to go over all of them. I think the next single is going to be "Good Old Days." Can you tell us about that?
That's another doozy. That's a fun one.
He called it a doozy.
Yeah, a double doozy. Dave and I wrote that one. We started writing the music on after Mardi Gras Day 2018. We had a beautiful
At
day
like 5
with many
a.m.
friends. Yeah, and we were out having fun all day. And
Sounds
been
like a
at
healthy
church.
day.
yeah, exactly. And we were just kind of having a jam session at his house after our girlfriends were hanging out, like falling asleep, and we were messing with. He got this new synth, like a synth, and we dialed in a fun sound and just started jamming, putting the music together. And then when I finally did go home that night in bed, and I'm like still kind of flying a little bit, and I just have the chorus lyric came into my head. These are the good old days. They're ahead or behind. I was like, is that cheesy? Maybe a little bit. I don't know, but I like it. And I shared it with him. He was like, that's cool. No, let's go with that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then we wrote the tune.
Also, like, "Don't Look Back." Tell me about that.
Oh man, that was one that came across. I will say that tune, I feel like we really nailed that one in the studio. It was we had just it was at the end of a day. We were all just
The last day, I think.
It was maybe it was the last day.
It was the last thing we recorded in
the
Vermont.
last thing we
yeah.
recorded, yeah,
For the whole album.
for the whole
Okay.
album, and it needed that wool on it. It needed that gruff. It needed that oh god, because it's a tune. You can't be dead for it. But it just I don't know. It kind of re-energized us a little bit.
We kind of thought we were done recording live.
It was a no pressure situation.
Yeah, they were working on a piano ballad for a couple hours, and we were like, all right, the band was like, all right, I think we're done. We're probably not tracking anything else full band here. And then the producer was like, you guys have another rock one you want to do, right? We were like, oh yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. So we just hammered out 3 takes of it. He was like, you got to use whatever's up right now. We don't have time to set up. And this producer was spent hours dialing in sounds and stuff, and he was like, you just got to roll with whatever you got. And it was like, all right. And we were like, great,
needed.
let's just go in and play.
Yeah.
And
Oftentimes the raw is the best.
exactly.
Though.
Well, it's the same. Like
That was
sometimes our best shows are like when we're the most tired and we don't know what's going on, and it just kind of happens, and you're just not thinking about it, and just kind of magic clicks out of nowhere. And I feel like we had one of those moments.
Yeah, it's very important to get production right and get all the pieces together and get your monitoring correct. But for example, when we played Bonnaroo for the first time, we rolled up to the stage 25 minutes before our set, and there was just using the house sound guy, and we were like, all right, boom, 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 and you just rock it. And that's kind of the vibe that we brought to this track.
Yeah. And the tent was pumping that night for sure.
Wow. So many other great songs. "Only You," "Alive." I don't know. Are there any songs on the record, and people are just learning it now, that jump out to you, that a song in particular you want to speak about or that you love? It's okay if you don't have one, because they're all your children in a way.
We can talk
Kinda
about
like
anyone, just...
Oh yeah, you want to talk about it?
Andrew wants to talk about Wait for the Sun.
Here, he's got you.
Andrew wants to speak about.
There's a song called "Wait for the Sun" that we have tried to put on a number of our records. Zach and Dave actually wrote this song in maybe 2007 or 2008. We've played it, we played it at Red Rocks. We played it a number of times, and it never made its way onto a record. And sometimes ideas just sort of marinate until it's their time. And the song was always really good, but I think that maybe coming out of what we were coming out of when we were making this record, it kind of it became time for that song to be on the record. And I'm really happy that it finally found a home on a record.
Also, I think we delivered the performance better than we had ever before on this time. So it was also all right, we got it now.
We kept trying. Yeah, we kept trying, and we never got it. But yeah,
that was also the first song that George came up with an original bass line for. I remember the first one that because we wrote it so early on, and you came up with that line. I was like, that's great. Yeah, awesome.
I wanted to talk about the way fans can get the record, and I love that you love vinyl, and there's so many different packages. There's the King Collection, the Diamond Collection, the Angel Collection, and there's a number of colored vinyl pieces that you can get, first of all, which I love, and the CD, and you can obviously download it. But to me, a three-dimensional experience of holding a CD or an album while you're listening to it brings it alive to you, because music is not one-dimensional. So if you just download it, as many young people do today, I think they miss something, including quality of sound to a certain degree. But seeing the artwork and opening the record and seeing who's playing on it and seeing whatever thoughts the band might include in that album tell the story. And like the album artwork, I don't quite understand what you have in mind for that, but what is your thinking behind the album artwork?
So it's an artist named Lou Beach who's been around forever, and he's got a lot of like classic album covers that he's done, from Bill Withers to did he do a Madonna one? Was that right?
He's done a lot.
He's done a lot of
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, he's been around since the '70s, and we were just looking.
love his art,
We liked what he did a lot, and saw this piece and really liked it and wanted to use it.
Cool. There's another thing that you can get, that fans can get, a lot of things, but there's what's called a graffiti color-changing UV T-shirt. And first of all,
I want one of those.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hold on.
is that news to you? Is it for real? Does it work?
Is that the ones where you put the handprint on it?
Our album merch packages,
90s?
Pierre. This
Please
is
call
wonderful.
today.
Yeah.
Don't sit there. Please call.
While
1-800.
supplies last. If you order right now, you also get to, I don't know, hang out with me.
It's going very fast, ladies and gentlemen.
Somebody could get that on
hang out with
camera there.
Zach.
That's official.
So you don't know if this color-changing T-shirt is even for real. Well, obviously it is for real. But
Gotta
the
be for
question
real.
is,
If it isn't, it is now.
I don't know. It sounds mythical to me.
all
That's
right,
pretty cool.
we shall find out. So I also wanted to talk about the fact that this band has been blessed now with, on the last 3 major albums, 3 number ones. When you think about it, All My Friends in 2018, Wish I Knew You in 2016, and now Kid in 2023. You have to think it does a band good, but what goes through your heads when you have that happen on each album? You get a number 1 on various Billboard charts.
It's really cool. It's very flattering, and it's a nice little boost. You know, I don't think it changes like the way we do things. You know, but it is really nice, and it's really special, and it really just means to us that it's connecting. You know, with the people. So that really feels good.
I assume you've been road testing some of the new songs, because you have been back out on the road. Your fans, particularly Rev heads, are so dedicated. But when you're on stage, you get a view of what the audience is perceiving. And if you're, introducing them to a brand new song, you've got to be curious how they're receiving it and how they're vibing to it. What's your take on their take on the new music you've played thus far?
It seems like it's connecting really nicely. So we definitely look at the reaction. We're in tune with the audience, and they're into the new material, which is incredibly gratifying, and we're super happy about.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
It's got to be gratifying.
Yeah.
You're also on this tour. Is the Head and the Heart on the entire tour coming this summer?
The first leg of it, we have a leg with the Head and the Heart. We're doing a bunch of dates with them, and then we have another leg with the Band of Horses. So we have several shows with them. I think that leg is a little more northwest and westerly, I believe.
Yeah, and there's also this band, the Heavy, which is great.
Actually, you know what? No, some of it's in the northeast too. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Put it
I don't
up
know
the
where
arc.
I'm going. Sorry.
We're
all right.
excited to get on the road.
Dance, baby.
Yeah.
Well, again, after all the space, when you had your first gig back after COVID, the first real gig, not a drive-in, were you actually, prior to taking the stage in whatever it was, a club, a theater, a arena, whatever it might have been, were you nervous? And then all of what you had missed is all of a sudden back. What was that like?
I don't know if it's nervousness, and like excitement and nervousness are kind of intertwined a lot. You know what I mean? At least for me, they're kind of that butterfly feeling. You almost can't tell if it's nervous or excitement. And I think we kind of always feel that for big shows, but that definitely felt like, okay, we're back, we're doing this. Like we don't have to spread everybody out 100 feet and kind of do all this crazy stuff. We're doing a real show, and it was definitely optimistic. Was my first thought.
And also, I remember the first time that we just got together and played music again, because we had several months where we didn't get in a room with each other, in those early days when people didn't know what was going on and stuff, and people were getting really sick. We had like 5 months where we didn't even play music together, and when we got together to rehearse and played Criminal, it felt like we were flying. It felt so good.
So there was a lot of
It was
excitement and like kind of being in the cloud. It brought us back to back in the day how we felt. I think kind of like everybody kind of hit a reset button then you keep going, you know, and you get it back, and it feels great.
On 93.3 WMMR, we're speaking with the Revivalists here in this MMRchive session. Just a few more questions for you. I wanted to cover a couple of things. When last you were with us, we talked about covers, and I think the last song you played in the session we did at the club with an audience was a cover of Hey Jude. David, I think you got up on stage recently with Goose and played No Rain from Blind Melon. And you guys can pull any song and have pulled many songs out of your collective musical hats. What about a cover makes it, or a song that's out there, makes it something you want to bring to the surface and put your guys' touch on?
You mentioned Hey Jude. I would just like to
Yeah,
interject that I named my son Jude.
Wow.
And he's almost 2, and like we listen to the song, and he's always like he'll just be singing Hey Jude. It's the
He like
cutest
knows
thing.
the lyrics of the verse now, right? He kind of like he had a whole thing, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
That is very cool. Another thing you spoke about when we were last together is the fact that on Halloween, the band used to gather and dress up. I don't know if you've done it recently or not, but I think we've seen you in everything from Nine Inch Nails to Prince to The Who, and even the famous Red Hot Chili Peppers performance with one of you wearing a sock on your...
Guess who it was?
Yeah,
I
take
believe-
a wild guess.
And I believe, David, your mother was in the audience at that particular time, was she not?
Was that true? Was your mom in the audience? No way.
Someone's mother was. I'll tell you that much.
Have you done the Halloween shows lately, or are there plans to do it again?
I think I'm sure we'll do it again. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but I'm sure we'll do it again. It's really fun.
It sounds just like a gas. Last thing is Rev Causes, a little foundation that you have set up to help other situations in need. Tell us about it and how it's been satisfying to you in terms of what it's been able to accomplish.
I mean, it's just like we're in a position now to where we can give back, and I think that there were so many years where we were just scratching by. And when we finally got a little success, it was just like, all right, yeah, we're gonna use this arm to reach out to the things and the things that we believe in. And so thank you, appreciate that. So we every ticket, there's $1 from every ticket that's sold goes to various organizations. We pick them each year. They always change, and yeah, we're stoked to do it, and it makes us feel good, and I think. We're going to continue it for sure.
Well, it's what you do. I mean, it's part of what you do. I think music is so powerful, and it brings people of all dimensions together. And my final question is, if you probably all have various stories about it, but if you could recite a moment where you, perhaps a fan has come to you and said, your music has helped me through this. Because music does that. It gets you through. It's such a powerful and positive force. If any examples come to mind of just something that has changed somebody's life or kept them going when they needed to be kept going.
We get a lot of messages like that, and I almost feel bad that like I don't take the time personally to respond to all these messages of people saying like how our music has gotten them through a really difficult period or something like that. But it's very heartening to get these sometimes, because to me, if somebody we get a message on occasion like, I just want you to know that I'm still breathing because of your music. That's incredible. It makes like even if we don't have any chart success or anything like that, the fact that music has the power to do this and that our music can be this meaningful for some people it makes it all worthwhile.
Good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We will see this band on July 12th at the Mann Music Center. We'd like to also thank the Concord Music Group, C3 Management, Bowder Audio, and Neumann Video, and our wonderful engineers here at MMR who worked well late into the night to get this performance space ready to go for this amazing band. We're so grateful that you've taken the time to come here and play for us. So we thank you for that. And if you're ready, we'll invite you to do the performance portion of our afternoon now. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Revivalists.